Hello there. Thanks for watching, listening, whatever you're doing. It's VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell podcast, and we're on episode 156, I think. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks. Same if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify. You know me, Steve Lillis. As always, at the bottom of your screen there, our co-host, John Evans, just what I dare say like myself, and I hope some of my guests may well have done what Inoue just destroy someone again and be a bad man in doing it. Anyway, this week's guest, man who's making his second bell-to-bell appearance, emerging middleweight talent, Brad Goldsmith. How are you, Brad?
Fantastic, Steve, and it's a pleasure to be on here again. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, brilliant. It was nearly 2 years ago you was on. You were 3-0 then, getting ready to fight on a John Pegg show, because it was John that suggested you for the podcast. And you're now a perfect 10 out of 10 and a Commonwealth eliminator coming up in Leicester on June 14, with Hamza Shiraz possibly vacating that title soon as he moves on to the world stage. I guess it could be wide open if you beat, is it John Akarugo?
You probably said it better than what I could, mate, I'll be honest. But yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. So, what is it you're looking for? This is the big chance you've been waiting for to put you in the title picture, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I would have loved it, or I would have loved this opportunity on my previous fight. But there were some things that went on my end that I can't really talk about, but kind of put like a hold on that progress, essentially. But I'm back fighting fully fit, and yeah, I'm just ready to grab this opportunity. As people say, I'm taking it with both hands.
It looks like this guy, Brad Akarugo, it's kill or be killed, isn't it? You know, I think he's stopped all but one, and he's been stopped all but one of his defeats. You know, he comes from a fight, doesn't he? So it's going to be a bit of a thriller.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen or what I've looked at, he's obviously very experienced. The record speaks for itself. You know, he's obviously got power with that as well. A little bit of inactivity, obviously his end. I know he's older as well, but he's obviously coming back and trying to make a second go of his career, essentially. And it's something that I need now. You know, I think I'll speak for a lot of fighters who are, say, in my position. You almost need that fear factor to go into the next gear and to really get into something. I know ability wise, I've got no doubts and that kind of stuff. It's just I just need to make sure that I perform on the night and, of course, don't get caught.
Brilliant. I'll tell you, we'll press on. I think you know the procedure on this, Brad. 3 minutes each round. John rings his bell if we can hear it. And there you go. That's it, really. It's pretty simple, isn't it? John always likes starting us off, and you ready, John, for round one?
Let's have it.
You make me sound like a prima donna there. I've never written that demand into my contract.
It's because every time I go on the internet, I just see by John Evans on various websites.
You're the inside of this particular show, Steve.
Yeah. Anyway, round one, John, you're going to start us off. There's only one place to start, I think. We're recording this about 35 minutes after Inoue just destroyed Louis Neary.
Yeah, I'm glad you said Inoue destroyed Louis Neary, because I think over the next couple of days we're going to get a load of people saying it was a great fight, it was a thriller. I honestly thought he came out to make a real point of Neary. He loaded up from the opening bell, got clipped with that left hook, picked himself up, and then just got straight down to business and wiped Neary out, didn't he? He dropped him in the second, the fifth, the sixth. I thought after the first 3 minutes, that was a really, really good performance from Inoue. Barely took many shots after that first left up that really hurt him, and just took apart another dangerous banger at super bantamweight. I think we got an indication if he does move up to feather, he's going to have to be careful. He can't switch off. He's going to have to be on his game if he's going to beat the featherweights. But the thing I like about Inoue is he makes it exciting, doesn't he? He could have got on his toes and picked Neary apart and beat him on points, but I think he set out to make a statement, set out to make it exciting, and did it again.
Brad, have you watched it, Brad? I know you're in Sheffield at your camp.
He's yes, mate. Yeah, I mean, I've only caught some, obviously the highlights, but like you say, it's just he obviously carries devastating power, and he's also a fighter that's not afraid to throw himself in order to use it. Like as you've seen, he obviously got clipped today, got dropped, but that didn't make him, get on his bike. As John kind of just said, if anything, it kind of spurred him on to go, right, okay, I felt that, now I'll give you mine back, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's just a bad man, isn't he? He made them little adjustments he had to make. And you know what? There was two things. The fifth round before the knockdown, it was 2 or 3 straight rights. They were just incredible. They just come from nowhere, just bang, bang, bang. And then the next shot, I think, was a left hook after the straight. Like set up, and he knocks him down. And then you know what? When he finished him off, he didn't even bother seeing how near he was on the floor. He was just running to the corners. And about a minute and a half later, when Neary did come and see him, Neary went to cuddle him. He said, thank you, and turned back to his corner. A bad man. A bad man.
He was looking into the crowd to see who's next, I reckon. By the looks of it, he was just getting going.
He's a bad man. And
I love that. I love that
sort of action. I thought that guy's in a bad way on the floor there in a heap, but his head went under the ropes and he's just ignoring him. And when the guy did go over to him, it was right, yeah, thanks. And as Brad said, right, you're done. Who's next? And absolutely fantastic.
I'm just getting warm here.
Absolutely brilliant.
Neary's a bit of a public villain over in Japan, isn't he, for his previous exploits?
Yeah, that's right.
So that probably had something to do with it. But yeah, I know people will say it was a thriller, but I just thought he was brilliant after that first round.
And he was hurt because you saw when he was down, you could see that was caught on this. His left eye was sort of, it looked a little bit as if it had dropped a bit of left eye, even though he was caught on the other side. It shows the power of these shots anyway. And thank God I'm not a fighter. Anyway,
especially his weight.
Right, yeah, well, I'm definitely not getting near that weight ever. I was at about 6 years of age. Anyway, we're on to round 2. Brad, you want to talk about Canelo and obviously the weekend, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just quite fitting. People always say, who's the face of boxing and this kind of stuff, and I think he's a great person to, talk about. And obviously, conveniently, he's just boxed on the weekend, so it's just the thoughts really on how long can he keep going for, and B, when's there enough money earned to also stop? Because he clearly doesn't do it for that reason. He's obviously doing it for himself, and he clearly loves boxing. But when's enough? And when's enough? Is he going to ruin himself, or is he going to come into like another stage of his or level of his career that people haven't seen before?
Yeah, you know what? I just think he's going to go on and on and on until there's nothing left. He's that type
till
of
the wheels fall off.
Till the wheels fall off. You always hear fighters saying like they're going to get out soon, or I'm planning. They've got a 2-year plan and 4 fights. There's none of that from him. I just think he's one of those, and someone will just get it right on the night. I thought Munguia was really good the other night, by the way, and it was a really good fight. But I just maybe he isn't what he was 2 years ago, and there is little bits, but there's certainly enough left, I think, to keep going. It takes something special to beat him, certainly over the next 5-6 fights, I think. John?
He did. Munguia did way better than I expected.
Yeah.
Way better. He held himself I thought he was going to get picked apart and stopped by counter-punching, but he held himself together quite well and came on, didn't he? I was impressed with Munguia. I don't know, Canelo, he seems to be able to move past defeat still at the moment, doesn't he? Everyone seems to have forgotten that Bivol completely outboxed him at 175. Yeah. And like you said, Brad, he's still the face of boxing, so he's just pushed that. I'll come back to super middle. I'm not sure who's going to... He's not going to fight Benavidez, is he? I don't think.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't think he's going to take that yet.
It's very clear that, super middle's his weight. I would obviously like... Well, not that I'd know or nothing like that, but I dare say he'd be able to make middleweight again. Yeah. So whether it's the case of he starts doing what Mayweather did and start creating fights at like a catch weight or like an agreed weight, moving forward, because at the minute it's almost like, right, okay, everyone wants to tune in and watch him fight as super middle, but it's almost like a guaranteed win before he's even got, through the ropes. And I think without the Bivol defeat, if he was to move up to 175 now, I think people would still say, oh, you know, he's unbeatable. But as you know, as John obviously, you know, brought up, I think the 175 jump may be just too much at the elite level, you know, talking about your Bivol, your Bertabievs and that kind of stuff. So it's finding that you know, that in between, you know, as I said, does he start creating fights at 170 pound or 173 against people who are willing to give themselves a disadvantage in order for him to, you know, relish? But I suppose only he can answer that.
Do you think the saying you used, Brad, was the wheels come off? Do you think he'll just keep going until the wheels come off, as you describe?
Do you know what it is? And it's something that I've learned as well. You know, early on, I think it's down to how you live your life. You know, if he's doing all the right things 24/7, 365, then he probably will be able to keep on going and going. You know, I dare say the younger people to say, like, you know, Mungui's just suffered this defeat now. How is he going to live his life now? He's just got a career high payday. The fame's gone to a next level because he made it, you know, he held a good account of himself. Is he going to last? You know, there's so many things to bring into that, but I think he'll just keep going until he probably turns around and goes, right, that's it. Or if something bad happens, you know, which hopefully doesn't.
Yeah, brilliant. Round 3, I'll start on this one. Fight's gone under the radar a bit this week. I know John will know about it because I know he's one of his favourite fighters, or one of his favourite fighters is in it, and you'll have an eye on it. It's Denzel Bentley and Danny Dignum this week. I think it's WBO International is at stake, but what a crossroads fight for both fighters. Bentley lost to Nathan Heaney when he must have been that far away from something huge. Dignum, his first fight for about a year. He's had a couple fights since he lost to Al McCoonley. Big crossroads fight. I think Bentley would have enough, but I'll tell you what, a loser of this, it's a long climb back. And I'm guessing, Brad, these are the sort of guys, the winner of this, you could be fighting for a Commonwealth soon.
100%, Steve. 100%. It's a shame, really. And do you know what? It wasn't until I was in the gym this morning where my coach said to me, "It's that, you know, Denzel Bentley fighting on the weekend," and he went, "Oh yeah." You know, as you said, Steve, it's kind of gone under the radar, but I know there'll be a lot of people in boxing focusing on that because, as you say, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a fight where if either lose, then it's like they're finished, you know, because they're obviously both quality operators, but it's a very long road to get back to where they want to or need to be. And as you say, it's Bentley's going to probably come into this fight wanting to prove himself again, you know, showing that he's at that level. And obviously Danny's going to want to get back into the mix. So it's like they've both got the bit between the teeth. It's just who's going to come better off on the night. John,
have you spoke to Denzel at all lately? I know you do a lot and keep in touch.
On the phone to Denzel last week about all this. It's a good fight. They've sparred each other hundreds and hundreds of rounds. They know each other back to front. So they've both taken it for a reason. You know, they both obviously think they can win. There's a lot of reasons behind Denzel's performance against Heaney. I think he should have pulled out. We don't need to go into that. We've not got time to, have we? But it's all on the line now, isn't it? If it goes wrong against Dignum, that's a bad result. If you look at how we did against Alim Kanuli, Denzel came on and pushed him really well towards the end of the 12. It went terribly wrong for Danny. He got shown up at world class, didn't he? So if you then get beat by Dignum, where do you go then? You know, that's a real long, hard road back. For Dignum, I think it really is last chance, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably agree with you on that as well, John. Just in the sense of like the inactivity as well, that's going to play a part on it. And but like you say, neither fighter are going to be thinking about losing or what's next. I can only imagine that they're, you know, both their sole focus is on Friday night. And does the loser go to, as you kind of say, Steve, you know, back to fighting small, you know, back in the small halls and working their way back up, and then the other one kind of catapults up. So it is literally who shows up on the night, I think.
Another one before we move on. Another fight on that card. It can't fail. Is Ryan the Piranha Garner against Liam Dillon.
Oh, is that
Very good fight.
Yeah, very good
My
fight.
God, I think this is the breakout night for a Piranha. I think this is the one.
Yeah.
Good fighter, you know. Yeah, I'm just glad the pennies dropped with him while he's still quite young, because he was a bit out of control. I know, again, you speak to him, John, more than I ever do. He was out, but he managed to pull it back together, and he's still a young man. He isn't like a fighter who's, you know, gone off the rails for 5-6 years and pulled it back. He's had that blip, and I think if he can come on. I remember when he first signed with Frank Warren, Frank was raving about him. He thought he was making the Nas comparisons, weren't he, even?
Oh, yeah. If you speak to the people he sparred with when he was 17, 18, they still say he's phenomenal. I think he's only 20.
I was just about to say, John, I think he's my age, and I remember, you know, coming through. I remember coming through in the amateurs, and I think he was on England at the time, and he was one of those kids where it was like he was a name at, you know, every county level. Like, you almost didn't want to fight him, if that, mate. I mean, he was nowhere near my weight. He's obviously much lighter than me, but I do remember him being a serious talent as an amateur, you know, with the England and GB squads, all that kind of stuff. So, but then, as you say, you've obviously seen Dylan's, you know, last couple of performances.
Yeah, really
he brings
good.
it. So it's, you know, it's yeah, I agree with you, John. That will be a cracker.
Yeah. Round 4, we're hyping someone up there. I think we've hyped them correctly, so they're that good. John wants to talk about overhyping undercards, particularly.
Yeah. And it's this fight between Jordan Flynn and Cameron Wong. Now, it's a great fight for both kids. You know, Cameron's had 4 fights. He's fighting Jordan, who's had 10. They're doing 10 rounds. Brilliant fight for both of them. I was weighing this up because we did another press conference at weekend. By the time these two fight, they'll have done 8 face-to-face-offs. They'll have done about 4 press conferences, 2 or 3 in-ring head-to-heads pushing each other. Jesus Christ, you know. Talk about overkill.
It's almost like a Groves and Frock moment, isn't it?
It is. And we're constantly
They'll be on the news next.
Yeah. We'll be on GMTV. You know, we need fighters to take these sort of fights early in the career. It doesn't matter if you lose, you learn a lot. Well, they're building it up to such an extent that by the time Wong and Flynn walk down that ramp, a defeat will be the absolute end of the world for both of them. It's totally going against what they're trying to promote. It's a good fight. Let them get on with it. It doesn't matter who wins and who loses. They'll both learn plenty from it, and they'll just get on with their careers. But God Almighty, I'm fed up of it.
I think a positive that it might create is because not someone's going to definitely lose, because it could be a draw. But let's just say that, you know, there's definitely a loser in this. It might then spur other kids on to take riskier fights, because let's not be, you know, without beating around the bush, it is a risky fight for both. And although I'm probably guessing this, but I dare say both fighters will still have a promotional contract after, if they lose. Whereas when fights like this are at the smaller level, which, you know, you two will know yourselves, there are plenty of 50-50 cards out there on the small hall circuit, but get nowhere near the same attraction or limelight. And you also find there's less 50-50 fights, essentially, because it's harder to come back on the small halls, you know, compared to obviously the mainstream media, which is obviously hard in itself. But hopefully this kind of shows or puts a bit of limelight on it, in the fact that people can take risky fights and come back from it.
Yeah. Have we lost Brad there?
But I do agree with you, John. Sorry, mate.
We're losing you briefly there.
So I lost my train of thought then as well.
Yeah,
Jesus,
you were just agreeing with John.
Yeah, so obviously agreeing with John with John in the sense of I don't think either are big enough names yet either to be bigging them up the way they are. You know, if they've got a few more fights under them and that kind of stuff, then yeah. But I think at the minute, that, you know, no disrespect or nothing like that, but they're not really known. I can probably assume after this fight they will be, but as John kind of said, it's going to be a hard, long road back for the loser.
Just to ask you briefly, Brad, there.
Yes, mate.
Some boxers love these head-to-heads where they go. I'm going a bit off the topic. They love these face-off where they snarl and growl. And I remember a former WBO lightweight champion, Terry Flanagan. He hated them because he saw it as confrontation coming nose to nose. Are you someone who looks forward to them, or will look forward to them, or they're not something you want part of? Do you see it as part of the confrontation?
The thing. It's a sticky one, and this is just my opinion, but it's good for the people and the fans to watch, yes, but to me it's so pointless because push, pull as much as you want, but it means absolutely nothing. And some people get rolled up by it and, you know, really frustrated, and some people actually lose the fight before they even have the fight because of it. But I mean, for me, if I've got to have a head-to-head, then no problem. If, like, unless it's like someone I've got a real dislike towards, you know, I'd like to think I'd always shake the man in front of me's hand. But yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. I mean, the whole pantomime pushing, pulling, I find that just a bit not necessary, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Brad, have you noticed they make you hold the face for stare-offs for longer now to try and make something happen? These things are going on for about a minute these days.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's almost like, who actually cares? You know, if you look at me for 30 seconds longer than I look at you, like, because I know for a fact when I'm, you know, say if I'm on my social media and I'm looking at the face-to-faces and, you know, on the Instagram pages and that kind of stuff, I don't look at it for as long as they look at each other. So I can probably assume everyone else is doing the exact same thing. Right? Okay, you've done your bit, but, you know, out staring someone, to me that is never ever going to win you a fight, unfortunately. But that's just my opinion.
And also,
you
get people
look
on
away
social...
from your phone before they look away from each other.
And then you get on social media, either A or B, people saying B won the face off there. That's an advantage.
Shaken,
he's won that. That could put him a round up. Anyway, enough of us knocking people on social media who say who won face off. Brad Goldsmith won the face off there. What would that be? Anyway, round 5. Brad, your final topic: drug flops in boxing.
Yeah.
Far away.
It's so. I think I remember listening to Eddie Hearn say something about when he got questioned about so many people coming out and failing now, and he said that's because the testing's ramped up compared to what it used to be. I think the thing that I'm, you know, struggling to understand now is it's just why it's so many high profile people that are going through it as well, and how accurate are these tests? I mean, I don't know what these fighters are failing on. I've got no clue until I do like a little bit of reading or whatever. And even then, I'm still questioning of what's it going to do, what's it this and that. Fortunately, Dom, who obviously trains me, he's quite intelligent on that sort of stuff. Like, I'll always listen to his interviews that he does when he talks about this subject, because he almost knows what he's talking about in the sense of he's very educated. But it's just the fact of fighters failing and still getting away with it. And I'm like, is there much point in announcing it to the world if there's going to be no change there?
Yeah. No, I agree with 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
You just skate away from it. Ryan Garcia will kick up a fuss, say that the Haney's have tampered with his test, and just get away with it. And he won't box for 9 months anyway, and then they'll backdate a ban if he gets one, and he'll just carry on as normal. And the infamy will actually help him, because more people will pay for his next fight because of all the controversy. There's no detriment, is there? The only thing I'll say is no one ever returns an adverse finding for a performance restricting drug, do they? No one's ever unfortunate enough to do that. It's always we're unfortunate enough to test for a performance enhancing drug. So I don't believe in coincidences.
And no one ever, everyone's innocent.
Everyone's innocent.
One fighter said, you know what? I bought a strength S&C guy. He said try this. He's giving me 2% more. I took it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll be real, and not obviously saying I've been in this situation, but it's especially this day and age, what with social media and whatever, people always want shortcuts, I believe. So kind of how you just said then, Steve, if you bring someone on board and they don't really understand boxing or they don't understand the do's and don'ts, and they're going, oh, I've got this other athlete who does cycling, he takes this and it made his performance enhanced by 4% in 3 weeks. And then all you've got to say is, yeah, but can I take it there? And they'll go, yeah, I've got other sports people who take it. They'll go, oh, all right then. Do you know what I mean? Like, it could be something like that. But
yeah,
does that make it okay?
I think that's probably what the majority of it is.
And the majority trying to find that extra 2%, and that doesn't make it okay. But I think that's what it is, because boxing is such a lonely sport. I don't know, I can't, you can identify and comment a lot more than I can, Brad. You're there. You're living by yourself in Sheffield. You drive from Sheffield to Coventry, every week, and stay in Sheffield by yourself to drive on. It's a lonely sport. And I just think when there are a lot of things with boxers, too many of them believe the last person they met at the train station looking for that little bit extra.
Yeah. And it's sort of like, I mean, this is again something that Don would say to me. It's like boxing's quite simple, really, in the sense of if you do as you're told by the right people and you've got good influences around you, you'll be all right. Do you know what I mean? And it's no like hidden secret. All you've got to do is train hard, eat well, recover well. And that's that. Like that should be enough as the bare minimum. Do you know what I mean? But still people think they can get away with things to, I don't know, run faster or do more rounds and this kind of stuff. And it's like, as you said, Steve, I don't sit up here for fun. I don't commute or spend time away from my family to for the laugh. I do it because I want to do it. So I'll make sure everything's like a fair playing field and that kind of stuff. And like you say, when you have such high media attraction to these failing people and then there's no real change, it does make you sit and think, well, why? Makes you shake your head a little bit.
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. Final round. Dads and sons in boxing. I've got this fault because Kostyazu and Tim Tszyu have had quite a, sort of a, I don't know, quite rocky but difficult relationship over the last decade or so, decade anyway. Tim's done it his own way. I think Kostya's been back in Russia. They've been reunited and they're going to do bits of work together. I wonder why. I've just always something we've had this topic before. Why is it you think so many father and sons in boxing have these fractious relationships? Floyd Mayweather and his son. I think Chavez and his son had their bad moments. Eubank and his son for sure. I think Michael Olajide going back and his dad. And then you have ones like Nigel and Conor where Nigel seems to have taken a backward step and just supports everything. But I wonder why is it in boxing that so many father and son relationships go wrong? Have you got any thought on that, Brad?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, the only person that say like myself, from being a child to to the age I am now, the only people you should really listen to or take note of is your parents, right? And you never want to do that anyway. So you're never going to want to do it when you're getting grilled in the gym by your dad who stood over you, who thinks to the person it is thinks they know best or thinks this or thinks that. And I think it's just the whole label of like being a dad. Now it clearly works with some people. I'd like from the outside looking in, Bill and Devin Haney, they seem to have like a really good relationship and that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'll only talk about my experience. Like my dad, he's probably my biggest fan. I had over 80 fights as an amateur. I've had 10 fights as a pro. He's not missed a single fight. He's paid money for kit, boots, travelled up and down the country to watch me, and that kind of stuff. But he's never once told me this is how you should throw your jab. You want to start doing this. I think the only thing he has told me to do is that I need to start doing more longer runs, but that's with him trying to put a bit of input in there. But I think if he was to turn around and start telling me how to do things, I'd be like, shut up. Like, what? Who are you? Do you know what I mean? You're my dad, that kind of thing.
Yeah. John?
It's so complicated, isn't it? I worked with my dad for 25 years. And it is difficult at times. And I'm not getting punched in the face as well. And he knew exactly what he was talking about. Whereas, like Brad said, a lot of these dads that seem to get involved have not lived the sport. But the ones that have lived the sport from being younger, they seem to be the worst. It's almost as if they're trying to live the life through the son. I didn't get to that level, but he can do it. And then when we do get there, we get jealous, and it rolls from there. It's such a complicated sport, isn't it, for dads to be involved in? If you're playing football, I was never in the position, but if you're playing football and the dad was a manager, that's complicated enough, isn't it? Let alone it being an actual, serious business like a fight. So I think it all just depends on the personalities involved, to be honest.
Yeah, it's mad. I'm matching a show in Dublin this week, and I've not matched a show. I've matched 4 fights in Dublin this week, and 3 of the fights had no problem, with the promoter or any of the fighters involved. But 3 of the fights, the promoter had to go and check with the dad who trains the boxer, because a lot of these, especially in Ireland, I think a lot of these kids in Ireland were trained by their dads in the amateurs, and they've just gone over with them. And it was 3 out of the 4 they had to check. There was nothing wrong with it; everything was acceptable. But 3 of the 4, I think Jay Byrne had to go and just got to speak to his dad, who was the trainer, send him the box rec.
Yeah, it's I think no matter what as well. I mean, as long as you've got a good team, then they'll obviously have your best interests. There's no doubt about that. But being a parent, you're always going to be more cautious than your average coach. I don't care what anyone says, because at the end of the day, when it's all stripped back, that's your son, or that's your daughter. So I personally wouldn't be able to have my dad in the gym or trying to coach me or train me. Like it just wouldn't work. But the relationship I've got with him as a spectator, it's phenomenal, and I wouldn't want it any other way. But as long as it stays like that, then that's when it will work for us both.
Can you imagine an apprentice on a building site, the site manager ringing up his dad saying, "Is it all right if Jimmy goes up to the 2nd level of scaffolding today? It's a bit more dangerous, that." And Dad saying, no, keep him on the 1st floor for another couple of months.
Yeah, brilliant.
It wouldn't happen, would it?
You're not wrong there, John.
Brilliant. I tell you. Go on, sorry, John.
Manager saying, with a renowned hard man in midfield, he's not playing next week. We're going to put him on the bench next week. We'll bring him back the week after. Just doesn't happen.
I really enjoyed this week. Really, really. I'm going to say it because Brad's there. Really enjoyed this half hour with you both. Brad, thanks very much for coming on again. We'll get you back again, I hope. Hope it's killed the boredom of talking to us for half hour about boxing before you get ready for the next session at the Winco Bank tonight.
Yes, mate. It's all right. It's made my Monday that little bit easier, mate. So we're all good.
And anyone who
must have been a bad day.
And anyone who wants tickets for Brad's fight against John Akurugo at, I think, Leicester at the arena there. It has different names, that arena, all the time. It used to be the morning. It's where the basketball stays. Morningside. What was the Morningside? It's on June 14. Just contact Brad on social media, and I'm sure he'll help you out. I think there'll be about, I don't know, even though it's a Friday, there'll be about 700 people from Coventry there that night, and that's not an exaggeration.
Hopefully, mate. The last one was a very good turnout for myself. So I've already got the coaches booked. They're filling up fast, and I'm very, very fortunate, mate, I must say.
Yeah. And John, thanks as always for coming on. And thanks everyone for watching or listening to Bell to Bell, VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell. Thanks very much.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.